All right, we'll give everyone a chance to start to funnel in and enjoy our last of a series that we've done over the past 8 weeks on finding healing through the Lord of the Rings, uh, a narrative therapy approach. So I'll give everybody just another minute or so as we uh, get together for this final concluding study tonight. We'll just keep this one fairly open and casual. And if you've got some coffee or something that you can sip along with us, we'd invite you to do so. But we'll go ahead and get things kicked off. So it's been a very interesting journey so far. I appreciate everyone who has commented and sent us information, let us know that you've watched the videos or that you were able to get on live with us. Really appreciate the feedback. And I hope this is something we can do a little more of as we go along. And I hope it's something, of course, that's meaningful for you and that you find helpful. Well, tonight we're going to be doing our concluding study through this 8 weeks. Tonight we're going to be looking at the Grey Havens, letting go and moving forward. Appreciate you being with us, and we'll go ahead and get things kicked off. Now, as we look back on week 7, we'll just recap what we discussed last time on the Return of the King, redemption and renewal. Last week, we celebrated redemption and renewal, the moment in the story when light returns and all that was broken begins to be restored. We reflected on how Aragorn's return as king symbolizes not just triumph, but healing, the restoration of identity, purpose, and harmony after the long shadow of war. Through narrative therapy, we learned that redemption isn't about forgetting what we've endured. It's about transforming it. Every wound we've carried becomes part of the wisdom that shapes who we are becoming. We also talked about what it means to return to ourselves, to reclaim our voice, our worth, and our calling after seasons of struggle. Healing is not the end of the story, it's the renewal that allows life to begin again. So tonight we're going to be concluding our series with week 8, the Grey Havens, letting go and moving forward. Week 8 brings our journey full circle. After walking through darkness, endurance, and renewal, we arrive at the quiet harbor of the Grey Havens, the place of peace, closure, and transition. So this final theme reminds us that healing is not only about restoration, but it's also about release. Learning to let go of what no longer serves our growth, to bless what has been, and to open ourselves to what is yet to come. Now, we'll have 3 objectives tonight. First, letting go is sacred. We want to learn that true peace comes not from holding tightly to the past, but from trusting that love, growth, and healing will continue even as things change. Secondly, we're going to learn that endings are beginnings in disguise. Every chapter that closes creates space for something new, for new callings, relationships, or even seasons of rest. And then thirdly, we'll see that healing continues beyond the journey. The story never really ends. It simply changes form. Like Frodo's departure and Sam's return, we each find our own way of carrying the light forward. Now, our framing focus tonight begins with this: the long journey has ended. The battles are fought. The burden has been carried, and the darkness has passed. Now the world is quiet again. At the edge of Middle Earth lies the Grey Havens, a place of farewell and peace. Here Frodo stands beside his friends, looking out over the water. The ship is ready, and the time has come to sail. It's a moment both sorrowful and beautiful. Frodo's given all he could. He has seen both the light and the shadow. Though the world is safe, his heart carries wounds too deep to remain, and so he chooses peace. Now, this scene is one of Tolkien's most profound moments because it teaches us that healing sometimes means release, not because we failed to be strong, but because we've been strong for too long. The Grey Havens represent the tender truth that every journey, everyone filled with courage and victory, eventually leads to stillness. There comes a time to bless the path behind us, to let go of what can no longer travel with us, and to trust that our story continues in new and gentler ways. Narrative therapy here helps remind us that endings are not erasures. They are the sacred pauses between one chapter and the next, the breath before the new beginning. So, like Frodo, we each face moments when it's time to release, to forgive, to move forward, to make peace with what cannot be changed. And in doing so, we make room for what can still grow. Now, segment one, as part of the framing our story tonight, we see that again, we're at the end of the story of the Lord of the Rings. Frodo sails from the Grey Havens out into the west. It's a bittersweet moment, a farewell, but also a passage toward peace. Frodo has carried the ring, he's faced the darkness, and helped save the world. Yet the wounds he bears are too deep for him to remain in Middle Earth. He's been deeply changed, not destroyed, but he's been transformed. Tolkien understood something very profound here. Not all wounds fully heal in this life, but there's still peace, there's still beauty, still meaning in the act of release. The Grey Havens remind us that letting go is not failure. It is love's final act of trust. It's the recognition that the journey has shaped us and that healing continues even when we step into new seasons. So in narrative therapy, letting go is not, again, it's not about forgetting. It's about releasing the weight of what no longer serves our growth. Frodo's departure teaches us that healing sometimes means just accepting that we can't return to who we were before the pain. Instead, we have to honor what we've become because of it. So letting go can mean, first, releasing guilt for not being healed enough. Some people really struggle with this. Secondly, forgiving those who have hurt us. Thirdly, it can mean setting down the identity of the wounded self to make space for the whole self. And again, it can mean a lot of things for each of us, but these are just three examples. But just ask yourself tonight, what part of your story are you ready to release? What burdens, regrets, or fears can you lay down at the shore? And then lastly, what new beginning might await you once your hands are free? Letting go is not the end of your story. It's the start of a new chapter. So for our journaling this week, I've asked you to do something each week so you can reflect on what we've learned. But for this week's reflection, I want to invite you to write your final letter of the series. It's, I would call it the letter of release. So what I'd like for you to do is picture yourself standing at the Grey Havens, watching the ship prepare to sail. And you hold something in your hands, a memory, a hurt, or an identity that's kept you anchored in the past. Now, write to that burden or season of life and tell it this: you were part of my story, but you no longer define me. Now, really think about that. What are we doing here? You can say to this burden, this season, whatever it is, you've been a part of the story, but you are not going to define who I am. Then I want you to imagine placing it on the ship. Watch as it sails toward the horizon. Not lost, just released. You might write, I bless what has been. I thank it for what it taught me. And now I let it go. Let this act of imagination be your symbolic farewell or a ritual of peace. Now, I've laid out some examples of how you could do that. If you want to work on that, maybe just think about it through the week. If you want to write these down, if you want to listen to this, if you're listening to this on your way to work or if you're on the treadmill or wherever you may be doing as you're uh, listening to this video or watching it, I want you to think about these things. So, step one of this journaling exercise for thinking about what we're reflecting on this week, first is naming what you're releasing. Excuse me. What burden, wound, or old identity are you ready to let go of? And then write it honestly. Be honest with yourself. Describe how it has shaped you. What has it taught you? And why is it time to release it? Step two is offering gratitude. So before you let it go, express gratitude for what this part of your story gave you, even if it came through pain. What strength, wisdom, or compassion has grown from it? Because obviously something has happened to where perhaps you can take these lessons and move forward. Step three is the farewell. Now write your words of release. You may begin with this prompt, and this is a pretty good prompt. I bless what has been. I thank it for what it taught me, and now I'll let it go. Visualize placing this letter memory it represents onto Frodo's ship as it sails toward the horizon, as we talked. Watch it drift into the light until it disappears from view. Then breathe, because you're free. You've released it. Then finally, the return to the shore. Now, some of us, like Samwise, will turn and walk back toward the life that remains, toward home, relationships, and new beginnings. Sam goes back a completely new person. He can't go back the same that he went away. So, what hope or purpose will you now carry into this next chapter? Whether you're like Frodo, who goes into the Grey Havens, or you're like Sam that goes back to the Shire, both Frodo and Sam have completely been changed, and they're not the same person they used to be. So, one quote I thought about for this from Gandalf is one thing that uh, really is, I think, is really profound. where he says that I have found that it is in the small, everyday deeds of ordinary folk that keep the darkness at bay, small acts of kindness and of love. So these things may seem small or inconsequential that we're talking about doing in releasing and letting go and acknowledging your past and what's taught you. But the important thing is it's these little things that snowball into something that changes you. And these are the very things that Gandalf is saying. These are the small things, the everyday deeds, the ordinary people that keep the darkness at bay. It's not the large acts. Everything doesn't have to always come from Washington, D.C. or from anywhere else. It can come from just your little village or your little part of the world, and a life that you may seem to think is pretty insignificant could be the very thing that's holding back a lot of the darkness in the world just because you're willing to smile. So, our group connection tonight is the fact that letting go is not losing, it's trusting that what has served its purpose can rest in peace. So, as you release the past, your hands open to receive what's next. The journey continues, lighter, freer, and filled with quiet grace. Now, as part of our closing reflection, when Frodo sails into the west, Sam returns home to the Shire. He embraces his family, his garden, and the life waiting before him. Not everyone leaves. Some stay to build, to love, to nurture. Both are sacred. Both paths are sacred. Both paths are healing. That's how this story ends, not with escape, but with acceptance, not with despair, but with peace. The truth is, healing is not about returning to who you once were. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be. So, as we close this series, I hope that you find your own gray havens, the place where you can breathe, release, and rest in the truth that your story matters. And of course, it's far from over. And as Sam says when he returns to the Shire, well, I'm back. He's back, but definitely not the same. So, what's our takeaways from tonight? Well, one thing is the fact that true healing comes when we release what we can no longer carry and bless what has been. The Gray Havens again remind us that closure is not about loss, but about trust. Trusting that the journey has shaped us, that our wounds have meaning, and that life will continue to unfold with quiet grace. When we let go, we make room for new beginnings. So, like Frodo sailing west and Sam returning home, we learn that every ending carries its own light. The promise that love, hope, and renewal will always find their way back to us. Over these 8 weeks, we've journeyed together from the green hills of the Shire to the dark valleys of Mordor, and finally to the quiet shores of the Grey Havens. Along the way, we've discovered that the stories we love are mirrors, reflecting our own struggles, our hopes, and the courage it takes to keep walking when the path grows uncertain. Through Tolkien's world, we've learned that every shadow hides a lesson, every burden can become a blessing, and every ending is really just the beginning of something new. We've walked with Frodo in his pain, with Sam in his steadfastness, with Aragorn in his renewal, and with Gandalf in his wisdom. But most importantly, we've learned to walk with ourselves, with compassion, patience, and grace. Healing, as we've seen, is not a straight road. It's a journey of becoming. Sometimes we must fight. Sometimes we need to rest. And sometimes we must let go. Yet in all things, the heart of healing is story. The story teaches us who we are and reminds us that light always returns. So as this series closes, may you carry these truths with you. You are the author of your story. You are both the traveler and the home that you seek. And like the heroes of Middle Earth, your life is part of a greater song, one of love, courage, and redemption. So in every ending, there is a new beginning. The road goes ever on and on. I want to thank you for walking this road with me. May your story continue to unfold in light, in peace, and in purpose. And may you always remember that even in the darkest night, hope is never far away. I really appreciate each of you being a part of this, and I'm glad that this has been something that's been meaningful for so many of you. I've had some contact me from various parts of the country, some friends, some people that I don't know as well. But I really appreciate the positive comments here. We're going to hopefully expand more and do some more examples of what can be done with narrative therapy. Would also like to show you what can be done, of course, with some person-centered therapy, with existential therapy, different types, lots of types of therapy and approaches that we use here at Looking Forward Counseling. And we invite you to contact us. If you'd like a more in-depth analysis, really we need to get with you, talk about your own story and how we can help you develop it in such a way to help you further in your own healing. And if we can do that, we hope that we can share in your journey, not to give you all the answers, but to be your partner in this healing process, that you can open up what's already inside of you, that we can maybe help you, give you some guidance and insight into how we can share in this journey together. So really thank you so much. I hope you have a great week, and please let us know how this series has helped and maybe how we can do some improvements. So thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful week.